You're listening to Comic Reflections, episode 211. I'm your host, Nicholas Prom.
I'm Jeff Barnhart, the phantom double of the other Jeff Barnhart.
Comic Reflections is brought to you by The Outhousers. You can find our show and many articles about nerdy things at theouthousers.com. And if you enjoy this show, please subscribe to us on either iTunes or Stitcher.
All right.
So before we start talking about our books today, I want to plug a couple of things, and then we'll get going. First book that I want to talk about is called Blood and Gourd, which is from Dead Peasant. It's as an independent publisher. It's a very 80s feeling horror comic. Really feels like 80s horror movies. Evil spirits possess pumpkins at a pumpkin patch or something. Details will follow, but the art's solid. The writing is pretty good. It's an unusual and interesting concept, but I recommend it for people who are really into horror. And it's I think they're based in Beaverton, Oregon. So it's I'm like, hey, support independent books.
I haven't heard much of horror recently, horror comics. I mean, as in new ones.
Well, Dark Horse and Image publish a lot of horror things. It's just kind of like, well,
small niche.
Well, they're not what the big two publishers focus on. It's these other up-and-coming publishers that have a nice piece of the market share, but it's not superhero stuff, and that's why you're not hearing about it. But there's good stuff and interesting things out there. The other book that I want to talk about is called San Hannibal, The City of Love and Fear. It's a new graphic novel out from Pop Goes the Icon, another small publisher. My friend, who is a writer and artist on this book, Dan Scotty, he wrote and drew the book, except for the first chapter is a different artist. And he is the artist on the revival of The Spirit from Dynamite Comics, which comes out, the number 1 comes out July 1st, 2015. He's a terrific guy, great artist. I think it's going to be a knockout book.
Cool.
Matt Wagner, who wrote Grendel and The Mage, is the writer on The Spirit Revival. It's going to be a blockbuster book. It's going to be a hit.
The Spirit is something just totally by itself. It's just really, it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't appear to be, it's almost like it's not a comic.
I think The Spirit is the bridge between the pulps and comic books, because The Spirit is a character kind of born of the pulp, but there's also something kind of almost whimsical in a Captain Marvel kind of way about him, comic-y. And
it's something highbrow, especially in the drawing. It's sort of, Eliza is probably the best. I don't know. Him and Jack Kirby can fight it out over who's the best comic artist there.
Yeah, well, let's not forget Wally Wood or Steve Ditko either. They're not pikers.
Right.
But no, Eisner is a giant and a legend, and his status, I don't think, ought to be questioned as one of the preeminent figures in comics.
Yeah. They're fun comics. Too bad the movie was so very, very bad.
You can't have everything.
No.
But the Daredevil movie was bad, and it kind of like it drug Daredevil's name through the mud for years. But now this new TV series is bringing things back. Maybe there will be some Spirit adaptation that will get it right.
Yeah, Daredevil was. I just finished it, I think, a week or two ago, and
the TV series.
Yeah,
it's
wonderful.
It is wonderful.
Probably is it the best of the comic book
TV shows?
I think I don't know who's number 2. I think it's. I wonder if it's better than most of the movies.
That's another conversation altogether. But at least in television, I could tell you, The Flash is a wonderful show.
Yes, I have not seen that yet.
Oh, it's good. So there's good stuff in television, but I think Daredevil is. It probably is the best. But let's talk about our books this week.
Oh, okay.
All right, we're going to start with some DC comics for this episode, and our next one will be all Marvel books. Let's begin talking about first issue special number 1 from April of 1975. Now, this first issue special was kind of a tryout book, but that DC had, but not really. I don't think they were publishing Showcase at the time, and this was kind of sort of a replacement, but not really. Most of the story, all of them, I think, are like inventoried one and dones, or some things that maybe they were gonna wait and see about expanding to a series. Only out of, I think, the 13 issues the first issue special ran, only 2 went to series, and one of them was extremely short-lived. They did the final issue of the series is Return of the New Gods, and then they brought the New Gods back for a handful of issues. I think we read a couple of those. Yeah. And then the Warlord appeared in one of these issues, and that went on for, I think, over 150 issues.
Which is a good run.
Yes, it is. And it's one of the highlights of DC's late 70s and 80s output. And
it's kind of bad that we read a lot of Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, and their runs are super long.
Yeah.
And so the second tier of popularity.
Yeah.
Not saying they're good or bad.
Right.
So it's
popular is not necessarily best, and unpopular does not mean lousy.
But popular means they make another issue.
Right.
And so
you have to keep the lights on. So.
But that's okay.
But I think when we get into the phone book volumes, we'll be looking at some of these other ones that are maybe shorter runs and maybe a little more overlooked, and getting to look at them in depth, because we'll be seeing these full arcs. So, but let's talk about this. Atlas the Great is the feature in this issue. It was written and drawn by Jack Kirby, with inks by D. Bruce Berry.
Yeah, this is not the Atlas who held up the heavens, and it's not the Atlas who was turned into a mountain range.
Right. It's another heroic warrior character named Atlas, and this is his only appearance until in the 2000s. He resurfaced in the Superman books as kind of a sort of a frenemy to Superman, like Hercules was to Thor in Marvel Comics. That's the best comparison I can have. He caused problems for Superman, but was basically good.
All right. Well, it's Kirby Rippet. It's just beautifully drawn.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like that his Kirby's 1970s output is absolutely the peak of his ability.
But it's
both as a writer and an idea man, and his art.
Okay.
It's a shame that things like Atlas and another book we're going to look at today didn't get fleshed out into full series, because I think there's a lot of neat things at play here.
Yeah. A two-page panel here is just awesome.
Yeah, and in the 70s, Kirby almost always opened stories with a 2-page splash, and they're these big, grandiose scenes.
It is awesome. Okay, so Atlas is with his buddy. What's his buddy's name? But they're doing He-Man feats to get money. And
right.
Some unfortunate goober at the city says, you're fake.
And so challenges Atlas.
Yeah.
And then Atlas kicks his butt.
Right.
And the guy didn't look like he was a wimp.
No. Atlas destroyed his stage with him by pounding him into it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I like how Kirby had like all the wood splinter away from the impact. It really shows the emphasis of the Atlas's great strength.
Let's see. The King's Lord comes by, being carried by slaves.
Yeah.
And he gets mad. So Atlas shows him a thing or two. But I love this little panel with the King's archers, and they're lined up. Just really, I don't know, words fail me how cool it is.
Yeah.
But too bad this is not a video podcast sometimes.
Sometimes. But then again, we'd probably spend, 2 hours showing up neat panels.
Right.
So, I mean, I think the point is to encourage people to go and seek out these books if they don't already have them. And if they know what we're talking about, enjoy the analysis.
Right. Then we get his origin story, and it's like Conan's origin story.
It's totally like Conan's. But imitation is the greatest form of flattery. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel with everything.
Right.
Because Atlas isn't Conan.
Yeah, I like it's ancient times, but it's got looks like 2050 or something, or what I would think that the 21st century would look like. But,
right, and who knows? Kirby could have imagined this as a future ancient or primitive world post-apocalypse, where all technology was lost or something.
Yeah. His origin story is pretty cool, though. I was on the edge of my seat.
We want to talk a little bit about that?
Some bad guys who we'll see later. What is his name? I don't know what his name is. It's the main bad guy.
Maybe write these things down.
I guess I should.
Yeah.
Okay. The story is his village. Young Atlas runs away, sees his father is killed. He's saved by the stranger, and who now they fight a little bit. Then he figures out that this is Buddy. So Atlas is from the Crystal Mountains, and he's got this crystal that gives him power.
Mm-hmm.
Which is odd, but cool.
Yeah.
So then Atlas, it's kind of cool. They show him growing older in 3 panels.
And the kind of like the wise, or the fellow that kind of takes him under his wing is a wanderer of sorts.
Yeah. And his name is Chagra.
That's right.
And he's fighting a rhinoceros, but he lets it go because it's too young.
Right.
And the rhinoceros is bigger than any bull I've ever seen.
Right. And Atlas is still a boy. This is still in the flashback.
Yeah. And he saves people, and he's lifting up a bridge so people can go over it. It's kind of neat. Okay, we go back into the present for the comic, and he takes a big tree or post and beats the crap out of about a dozen people. And let's see.
So I think we flash forward to Atlas as an adult.
Yeah.
And he is with Chagra.
Right, and they go to the Sea of Flame.
Yeah, which is awesome. Because when Kirby draws flames, you get to see that Kirby crackle.
Right.
So anyway, they go on to confront the leader of the people who had destroyed his village, who is now old.
Yeah.
But he's the leader of a nation or something.
His name is Paisa, but he was the one who destroyed the city.
Yeah. But it's left on a forever cliffhanger because it's never revisited again.
And no one ever can. So there's...
Yeah. Well,
it wouldn't do it justice.
There are Kirby imitators these days who, if DC, which they won't approach this property, not now, but I could think of a couple of artists who, with the right writer, could finish the story and do something cool with it. But let's talk about this other. It's another issue of First Issue Special, and it's another one of. There were 3 issues in the First Issue Special that were Kirby concepts that didn't get fleshed out or revisited, and this is another one. The other one was another group of young kids like the Boy Commandos or the Newsboy Legion, and I'm blanking on the name, so you'll have to forgive me. I'll look it up in a minute. But this is First Issue Special number 5. It's from August of 1975. And this is all about Manhunter, written and drawn by Jack Kirby and inked by D. Bruce Berry. Now, this is interesting because it's actually reviving a Golden Age character that Kirby had worked on at DC. This Manhunter, was it the Shaw?
Sean, I think.
Shaw.
Sean.
Some not Scott Shaw, but something like that.
S-H-A-N?
No, the Shan is the power that gets it from, but this guy is something Shaw.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, the Manhunter.
Yeah, cool looking. The Manhunter comes in, and he goes into this cave with a bunch of heads that have been decapitated, and the heads start talking to him.
Yeah, creepy.
Yes, it is. So he's fighting this one guy. He's who is some
Mark Shaw. Mark Shaw.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Anyway,
he's after this one guy who looks like a Cupid doll or something. And he's got this huge head.
Yeah.
And He said, "Oh, you come to my lair and I want to kill you now." And
Yeah.
Man, Kirby Crackle. Wow. So we've got a big fight going on. Let's see. And
the villain puts this weird thing over the Manhunter's head called the electric head, and it's supposed to like take away his power and immobilize him.
Right. Yeah, the Manhunter takes his wand. It's a power wand or something, and he blasts it out. And then let's see. Then he's attacked. So the bad guy's plan didn't work, so he comes with an axe, which is, don't you have a gun or something ready? Well,
and here's the thing, and the villain was wearing this large headdress that made him look like an alien or something, and it fell off, and he's just a regular guy.
Yeah, it confused me when I saw it. It says, "Where's the other guy at? Who's this dude?"
Oh, you didn't realize it in that panel?
Oh, it took me a little while.
Oh, okay. But I spotted it right away, and it reminded me of this old Basil Wolverton story that I had read, where a guy, he was marooned on a planet, and he became like Goku, or that's not the name, okay, but Gorgo or something, and wore this mask and like held these primitive natives in his spell because he was marooned, and he held them under his terror because this was how he survived. And then some other people from Earth came across him and exposed him, and then the guy died. Well, it was an interesting story. Also this weekend I met a guy who knew Basil Wolverton.
Wow. What a cool name that is.
Yeah, and had sold a lot of his original art for him and stuff like that. This was at the Frankenstein Comics book swap, so I was thrilled to no end. And I mean, this guy was old too. I got to, I'm like 1 degree away from one of probably my favorite artists of the golden age of comics, Basil Wolverton.
Yeah, he is good.
Yeah, and a huge influence on R. Crumb. So yay.
Yeah.
But so Manhunter, this isn't Mark Shaw yet, because this Manhunter takes off his mask and he's an old man.
It's I'm about to die, so I'm getting old. So now we go to Mark Shaw.
Yeah.
Public failure. And he's trying to save this guy who won't talk. Well, he's a criminal, but there's a much bigger criminal, but the guy won't talk.
He won't squeal to prosecute this other criminal, probably because he knows he'll be killed. Yeah.
So feels bad about that. He's talking to his mentor.
Yeah.
And his mentor opens his secret passage, which I've always wanted in my house, a secret passage.
I know someone who has one.
Really?
Yeah, I can't say who it is, but you don't know them, but I know.
Oh, okay. And he has the coolest stuff in there. I think this beats Superman's place.
The Fortress?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's kind of like what I remember. I would imagine like Sir Dennis Nayland Smith from the Fu Manchu would have.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Anyway, while you're looking through here, anyway, he shows Mark this mask and he tells him about the Manhunters and stuff. It's the Manhunter's costume.
Right. And they have a medallion with the lion on it.
Yeah.
Call it the lion medallion. And if he puts it on, if he's worthy, he'll become a Manhunter.
Yeah.
And this happens right when the other guy is wanting to retire. So
how convenient.
Yeah. And they find out and they send him his costume by mail, which amused me.
The Shan, they secretly sent it to him by mail. It's funny. Yeah, so Mark Shaw becomes the Manhunter, and just in time, too, because the mobs put a hit on the guy who was going to squeal, or they were trying to get to squeal, and so he bursts into action as the Manhunter. And he's got a cool costume, and he kicks all kinds of butt in the Kirby way.
Yeah, you see Charles Bronson's trying to shoot him down?
Yeah, one of these guys does look like Bronson.
It doesn't do him any good, though.
Yeah.
But cool fight scenes, as we always get from Kirby. He's almost perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone does action better than Jack Kirby.
Why don't you marry him then? Yeah, he is great. He's fantastic. So he beats him up, and he finds out who the bad guy is, and it's the Hog. So,
who is, a mob boss.
yeah.
So again, left unfulfilled because it's first issue special, and they, didn't go to series or anything like that with it. There was one other, and a lot of these things, I think 75, Kirby is actually left DC again. I think he was only there from like 71 to 74. So a lot of these are kind of inventoried things that were maybe going to be series and they didn't end up using. There was I mentioned the third Kirby property that's in first issue special. It's the Dingbats of Danger Street. And one issue of it was published, and I think Kirby actually penciled and had ready 2 more issues of it. The one issue that's in first issue special is actually really wonderful. It might be my favorite kid gang that Kirby's ever done.
I'm not too fond of the kid gangs. I don't know.
I think
there's too much Leo Gorcey in it, and I like Leo Gorcey fine. But
yeah. I don't know. I really like I'm kind of torn on them. I really like the Newsboy Legion. I really don't like the Boy Commandos.
I can't hardly tell them apart.
Boy Commandos, they fight in World War II, and the Newsboy Legion don't.
Yeah, no, but they're kind of seem the same. That's what it is.
They've got different characters, and I think they're different. Yes, a couple of the characters in each group are very the same. Same as the little wise guys who ran around with the Golden Age Daredevil from Lev Gleason publications. They, I think, are very who cares? I'm a Newsboy Legion guy. I love them.
Okay.
But I don't know. I like the Dingbats of Danger Street, and it was doing that in a 1970s kind of setting, so it was a little fresher too. So, but anyway, let's talk about some Superman.
Indeed.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Action Comics number 397, which is from February of 1971, and the lead story is called "Secret of the Wheelchair Superman," written by Leo Dorfman, penciled by Kurt Swan, and inked by Murphy Anderson. So it's that Swanderson art team, as they were frequently known.
I read this when I was a kid, and
oh, cool! I love when that happens.
And made me think about it. Really affected me seeing Superman as a super
invalid.
Strong and all this, and as an invalid would smack me hard. And
I think the story did its job then.
Yeah, well, and the old joke, the golden age of comic books is 8.
Yeah,
and it really and it didn't hit me as hard this time because I already knew about it, and I don't think if I had never seen it before, I wouldn't have. But it is interesting to know that these are written for much younger people, and sometimes we have to look at it from a kid's point of view as well, and not be.
We're looking at it through an adult's eyes.
Right.
So, and a lot of what we do is poke a little fun at these things.
Right.
But I think also, in a way, is it interesting? Does the story hold up as a good story, though?
Right.
I'm asking you, this particular one.
No, it's not bad. It's pretty cool. It's when I read something I've read maybe 30, 40, well, probably 40 years ago, and it just really... And you see each thing, and they pop out of your brain because you've seen them before. It's really a weird experience.
Yeah.
And it kind of really messes up the reading of it, but it's enjoyable and all that. But it's sort of it's confusing.
Yeah, but that is a fun experience. When I stumble across a comic that I read when I was very young, and so you read this when this was like new on stands.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really fun. But yeah, it is a neat feeling when you revisit that and like, oh yeah, this. So
I was 9. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. I didn't know the 90s were so bad. I didn't know them being bad.
This is an imaginary story, and it does take place in the then future 1990s.
Yeah. But it looks just like a bad 60s.
Yeah. I mean, it basically just looks like the early 70s.
With cooler cars than what we have in the 90s, or in today, in fact.
Yeah. So, what's going on with this story?
Superman is begging money. He's in a wheelchair. Everybody's favorite, Jimmy Olsen, throws in a nickel and misses, and he realizes it's Superman.
In the can for his begging.
And Superman is wearing his Superman outfit.
Right. He's got wear regular clothes on over it and a blanket, but it falls away because he's trying to get away from people, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, man, Fringe was really popular with the women in 1990s. I had
What
no
is
idea.
it? Oh, Fringe.
Yeah, look.
Yeah.
But he's running away because he's lost his power.
Yeah.
And it's real. It's one of the most depressing Superman that I've read, and especially in this time. And, oh, poor Superman. He has some power, like he uses heat wave to make fog from standing water to hide himself.
Yeah, but he can't fly or use any of his super strength anymore.
But Jimmy comes by and he helps him and find out what happened. So Superman was getting tired and he was getting weak. He had to use a cane, and then Clark Kent had a cane, and so what could he do? Which would be a problem if the superhero has something like a cane or something like that. Yeah, we had something like that last time. Oh, they were invisible. Batman was invisible, and so Bruce Wayne was invisible too. So that's gonna be a problem.
Right. Do you remember that story we read where Superman destroyed this alien satellite or being that was going to save the world, and Superman didn't believe it? And it turned out Superman was wrong.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sad too.
Yeah.
Stuff happens.
Yeah.
And that's really when Superman gets good, when stuff like that happens and gets a little pathos.
Well, yeah, well, I mean, if Superman can do anything, but he can still be wrong.
Yeah.
That makes for, wow, that's very dramatic.
Yeah. So Superman sends his Superman robots. I guess this is before pollution destroyed them. But they got weaker and weaker. And so he finally had no more Superman robots. And it's so sad to see the Superman robots decayed and destroyed. It's really kind of... So he loses his job as a reporter. He is sent out of his apartment house because he can't pay the rent. And he says, ironic, I gave away billions of charity. Now I don't even have the money for rent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was going to go get help, but then he saw some kids looking at the Superman poster. He says, well, if I go get help, the kids will be crushed.
Right, go UNICEF or whatever. There was a poster of Superman.
Although, would they?
Sure.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kids are kind of cruel in that. They don't like...
Yeah. Well, and it's like...
weaknesses.
Well, but here's the thing. If you're a spokesperson for some charity to help underprivileged people, and then all of a sudden you're having to go get that, I think it's Superman's pride in this instance not letting him seek help. Although, just take the costume off, get the help as Clark.
Right. And Jimmy then says, well, if you're too proud to get help, then why are you begging? So I'm not begging for myself. I'm begging to help these...
There's scientists who got a disease, and they can't work or do anything.
Yeah.
It's kind of like leprosy.
Yeah. And they look awful.
They do.
So
Superman is living like basically in a condemned building with these people.
Yeah. So Jimmy says, oh, let's go get some help, which Superman should have done way back when.
Yeah.
And they determine it's all mental.
Yeah, he has a mental block. Because Superman was trying to do all these super feats and realizing that people were actually able to solve these problems themselves because of advances in technology.
Which was another... That was done in another issue that... the people who control... I think it's people who control Green Lantern. They're thinking that Superman is retarding...
the Guardians thought that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember we did read that.
Yeah, I always liked that one too. So that was an interesting idea.
These are good themes to play with. And I like them because it's like, what would the world be if there was a Superman? He would change everything forever.
Yeah.
And would we become too reliant on Superman?
Probably so. But they apparently in this world they don't. Did you ever see the Saturday Night Live where they have Uberman? Superman lands in Nazi Germany and works with Hitler.
Oh my gosh, no.
And Dan Aykroyd is Superman, and it's really well done. And
I have not seen that.
It's pretty cool.
I'll have to try and find that.
Okay, so it's all in his head. So I think there's a fire in the building. Everyone's gonna die. Superman is, oh no, I can't do anything. Well, maybe it's in my head or not. I'll try. And then he gets up and he saves the day. Yay! So, but the people die anyway. So, which is kind of sad. But they said we're about to die. So
so Superman had to leap in action to save them, and so he overcame that mental block. And so he saved them. Well, they didn't die in the fire, but he saved them from just before that. And then so he builds them a tomb under the earth, and then he decides that, well, I'm back to who I was, but the earth doesn't need me. So he leaves the earth to find a planet that needs a Superman. Yeah.
I love him sitting on top of a skyscraper.
Thinking. And the panel of him flying away from Earth is awesome. So there's some really wonderful stuff at play here. So neat imaginary story. Yeah. And we've got at least one backup. I think, one backup, and it's called The Super Captive of the Sea. This was also written by Leo Dorfman, penciled by Kurt Swan, and inked by Murphy Anderson.
All right, Untold Tales of the Fortress, and Superman has I did not know that he had a fortress inside of a fiery meteor. They probably mean asteroid.
Yeah.
Because a meteor will land. So,
I'm sure they mean asteroid.
And they were worried about their kids not knowing what an asteroid was. So
really?
Maybe.
If you know what a meteor is, how would you not know what an asteroid is?
Yeah. I got nothing.
Okay. It's just a mistake.
Yeah.
Which also happens.
Yeah. Not on this show.
Right.
We're error free.
Yeah.
All right. And he has a fortress in the ocean, which I did not know this either.
I had a vague recollection of that, and that he abandoned it. Like he just didn't.
And so he has a huge key
to open that up too.
I wonder if they use that at NORAD.
The giant key.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious if they did.
That's funny.
All right, so he has all these. It's like his Fortress Solitude, except it's underwater, and he has all these computers and all that stuff. Which I guess they're waterproof. And he's doing super Ds, like there's some drums filled with deadly radioactive material, which they put in a regular drum. I think deadly radioactive material is usually kept in a more secure box or something like that.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't know what that looks like. So these metal drums are like, oh, that's what toxic waste barrels always look like,
Yeah.
In cartoons and comics.
Right. Like the money bags. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the big dollar signs on it. Yeah.
So why is Superman in the bottom of the ocean? Well, he was flying in the air, and all of a sudden there's this pink mist from the outer space.
Right.
I'm not kidding.
I know you're not kidding.
Okay. I'm talking to our
audience.
So, and he goes haywire, and he can't go in a straight line, and he falls in the ocean. But he finds out in the ocean he's immune to it. Supergirl's having the same trouble. Let's see. Then he starts doing super feats, and like saving a bridge, and a poor giant squid gets caught in the cable.
The transatlantic cable, yeah.
He's sitting down thinking while he's in fish go around him. That's pretty cool.
Swim around?
Yeah. And he watches baseball.
What?
I guess I didn't know that Superman liked baseball, because he has played baseball.
Yeah.
He's played I think he's played both teams at the same time.
Sure. I've seen, I love the one where he, it's a Silver Age story, where he throws out the first pitch for a ball game in Japan, and he throws it from Metropolis.
Wow.
And it goes to Japan.
Yeah, that's just cool. I don't know. It's just that's Silver Age goodness.
Yeah, it is loads of fun.
So he keeps seeing these shadows, and then he looks, and then, oh, they're manta rays. But then he keeps seeing them again. So what's going on? He gets attacked by... I don't know why I'm worried. I'd be worried if I was Superman being attacked by electric eels.
I don't know.
I don't know. So he invents a... Now here comes another suit. He always makes a suit. He's worse than Batman. So to protect him from the pink ray.
Now, how is the pink ray affecting him?
Pink mist. It makes... He cannot go...
Oh, above the surface.
If he goes above the surface, he cannot control himself.
Right.
Which can be dangerous for somebody who is invulnerable and... I don't know, he weighs tons or something like that or something?
What are you talking about?
He's extremely heavy, is he not?
No.
I thought he was.
No, I mean, he...
I think he makes himself... I think he makes himself light. But if he just fell, he would...
I think a person who is an able-bodied person could carry or drag Superman unconscious.
Okay.
Because I've seen that. So...
Yeah, okay.
I don't know why you thought he was super heavy.
No, when he was super fat, I guess.
I don't remember that. I remember when the Flash got super fat.
Yeah, Superman got super fat and he broke the scale and all that stuff.
I don't remember that. I remember when Lois got really fat.
Yeah, I remember that too. So.
Okay, anyway.
Oh, so of course there's two aliens in behind it all. So
right, and they look like the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of.
Yeah, they do. He's put into a net.
And it's got that pink stuff in it, so he can't get out.
Right. So they explained they've been doing all these super villainous stuff to make him work for them.
Yeah, and they wanted to test him, make sure he could do all that stuff aquatically, because their world needs a Superman.
Right.
And so, but they have shape-shifting abilities. And he tricks them by getting them to demonstrate their powers.
Yeah. So transform into a seahorse. I dare you. And the seahorse is only about a couple inches tall.
Yeah, they're little.
And then it's, I bet you can't do a whale. So it's, yeah, I can. And then he turns into a whale while in the net, and it breaks the net.
And then Superman gets loose and
kicks butt.
Yep.
And he soaks up the pink stuff and sends it out in outer space.
Soaks it up?
Or he
creates a vacuum by going at super speeds and circles and sends it away from the Earth.
Yeah, like that.
Well,
yeah, you're right.
I think that needs a little explanation. Then he sucks it up. Or whatever.
I didn't have the vocabulary to describe it.
Okay.
All right, so he gets home and Supergirl's there and everybody's happy. Not a bad little thing. It was cool. I did not know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Although I should have known aliens were going to be behind it, but
I thought you said you had this comic before.
I think that this is. I read this part, but I did not read that.
Well, that's weird. So you must have read the Wheelchair Superman in maybe a reprint, a trade, or something like that.
So.
Okay. Well, that kind of blew that whole opening.
Yeah.
Thing we talked about. Wow, lies exposed.
Oh, okay. Or, well, maybe I just don't remember this one. The other one was memorable. This one was not as memorable to me.
There is that.
It is 40 years ago. So.
And I will agree on both points there.
Yeah, it's not bad, but the first one was, man, 1971 calendar Superman, yay, with all the little super.
Okay, when you want to point these little filler things out, you gotta give a little explain. There is a page of the calendar for 1971. It says Superman 1971 calendar, and in the center of the page, there's it's a montage of shots of Superman and pals, and along the sides are just all the days of the calendar year of 1971.
Yeah, they're all Silver Agey looking, which is cool.
Yeah,
it's not. And there's an advertisement for hand shadows.
You need to explain.
Hand shadows is a light. You can make a eagle and all this stuff with your hands from behind the light onto a white surface.
Yes.
And there's a Richard Nixon one, which is hilarious.
That is funny.
I have seen that one before. But you can make a dinosaur. Yay. Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah. So let's talk about this one more issue of Action Comics. This is issue number 408 from January of 1972. And the lead story is called The Hero Superman Doomed to Die. Written by Cary Bates, penciled by Kurt Swan, and inked by Murphy Anderson.
Yeah, there's an astronaut in outer space, and he's in trouble, so Superman goes up to save him, and he is thrown back.
To the Earth.
Yeah. So he tries again, he doesn't work, and everybody says, hey, what's up? What are you, some kind of coward? And it's
out of Superman's hands.
Yeah.
He wants to save this astronaut, but is unable to.
Yeah.
But he doesn't tell anybody that he can't.
Mm-hmm.
And so the world thinks Superman is a coward or a jerk.
Right. And the Daily Planet says, Carter has hours to live. Superman still won't go. And Morgan Edge, that SOB, he
admits that he is in league with Darkseid.
Right. So he's going to destroy Superman's his reputation.
Yeah.
And he uses Clark Kent, which is great irony.
Yes. So he's going to have Clark deliver the news on the air about how lousy Superman is now.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Oh, Superman is saving somebody, and there's a gang battle going on. So Superman, while he's going, he blows into a river, and the water leaps over the buildings and splashes the fighters, and which knocks them out, and it stops the fight.
Yay!
Yeah. So it's pretty good, and while he's saving somebody.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Oh, here's cool. We see the face of Superman. Why?
There's a montage of people questioning why won't Superman save the astronaut. So
yeah. Oh man, so Clark has to give this special news broadcast how Superman is being really mean to this astronaut, and here's the astronaut's family crying, and it's really ticks off Superman.
And it's a bum deal,
Mm-hmm. So Superman invents a super spaceship.
Yeah, he realizes something is keeping him from using his powers to go to outer space. So he builds a spaceship based out of parts borrowed from NASA of his own design.
Yeah.
And he goes into outer space to rescue the astronaut.
And he goes as Clark Kent or something like that. It's sort of like...
no, he goes as Superman.
Does he?
Yeah.
Then, okay, but he gets to the ship.
Yeah.
To the astronaut, and the astronaut is evolving because it's in a vortex. Which I didn't know vortexes increased evolutionary.
What do you know about vortexes, Jeff?
That they increase evolutionary things.
Well, then why are you surprised?
Oh no.
I know. Look, they're mysterious forces. They can do all kinds of crap.
Yeah.
Can we just carry on? Thank you. So yeah, the astronaut has evolved like millions of years in human evolution. His mind.
Yeah, he's smart because he's got a really big head.
Yeah,
and that's DC's way of telling you he's super smart.
Like the Telosians from Star Trek, like the leader from the Hulk.
Yeah, and like brainy Superman from the future.
Yeah,
I love that.
Or MODOK from Marvel Comics. He's got the huge head and the tiny arms and body and stuff.
Yeah,
he's in the floating chair. I like MODOK.
So the astronaut is the one who stopped Superman because the astronaut wants to be left in order to evolve further.
Right.
So, but the astronaut does Superman a favor by appearing over the world saying...
as a telepathic projection.
Yeah. Hey, Superman tried to save me, but I told him not to.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing for him to do.
Right. So Morgan Edge's plans are foiled, and he's pissed.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I don't like Morgan Edge. Period.
He's a jerk. Like you like Steve Lombard because you like to hate him.
Yeah.
And Morgan Edge, I just don't like him.
I like it when he gets his comeuppance.
Yeah.
And I like Lex Luthor because he's Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
But I do not like Morgan Edge. He's not very entertaining.
Right.
He's not.
Well, it's like
evil.
Yeah, I mean, in this period, the 70s, Superman, when the Daily Planet got absorbed by GBS, and it's more about television than newspapers. Mm-hmm. They introduced Steve Lombard and Morgan Edge, but they're both jerks, really?
Yeah.
Both of them?
Yeah.
What if Morgan Edge seemed nice and okay, but then he was in league with Darkseid?
That would have been more interesting.
Yes, it would have been. And then Lombard's the jerk. Because the way they deceive Lombard is this is fun.
Yeah.
But I think that would have been maybe a better move.
Yeah. It was like a Perry White type of guy, and turns out to be evil. That'd be kind of cool. So.
Yeah.
Okay. So, unfortunately, the evolution is going too quickly, and so the guy wants to get out. So Superman makes super tongs, and
he creates these giant tongs because he can't touch the spaceship directly.
Yeah.
Because reasons.
Well, he evolves, and he evolves quickly, so he has to take his hand back, and it turns back because his metabolism is strong. But if he went in there, it would mess him up.
Yeah. So he uses these giant tongs to pull the astronaut and his spaceship out, but then he devolves to like a caveman.
He's already devolved.
Right.
But by the time he got him out, by evolving to a super brain, then you start going back and de-evolving.
Right. So he was able to Superman was able to kind of get it so he's back to basic human level of intelligence, like where he was left off with. But his memory is lost, and he's going to have to go back and be retrained and learn everything. Which that's rough.
Yeah, it is, but it beats dying, I guess.
Yeah. I was thinking about like his family,
right.
How they're gonna have to cope with that.
Well, it happens to a lot of people because of Alzheimer's. People get Alzheimer's.
Asperger's is on the autism spectrum. Right. It is a different thing altogether.
I know. Sorry, it's hot here.
It is.
We do not have AC in our library here, so
where we record. Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was a pretty interesting story, though. It's pretty cool.
Not bad.
So there's a couple backups, and the first one is called "The Shocking Secret of Super X," and it was written by Cary Bates, penciled by Kurt Swan, and inked by Murphy Anderson.
Yeah, Super X. When my wife and I was on our honeymoon, we drove from North Carolina to Oregon, and we went through Alabama and Arkansas, and we didn't see McDonald's or hardly any, or 7-Elevens or anything, but we did see Super X.
Oh, you mean the roadside pornography stores?
Yeah, and there were about 5 of them on the little road through there, and I was kind of shocked. But man, that's not a good sign.
No, well, it's like who uses those long haul truckers, those roads?
I guess so.
And it's look.
But don't they want a burger every once in a while?
Oh yeah, but here's the thing, and I don't know if it's a chicken or the egg kind of thing, but I've worked in warehousing. Mm-hmm. And in shipping and receiving quite a bit. You can always tell the short haul in-town truckers from the long haulers, like right away.
Huh.
Because the in-town people, they go home every night and they're normal. And the long haul truckers are weird and creepy. And just kind of like, there's a weird disconnect with other people. Because they spend so much time in isolation.
Yeah.
And
not their fault.
Oh, it just goes with the work. Yeah. But it affects them tremendously. And I think, whether good or for ill, the frequenting of those establishments we mentioned is symptomatic of that lifestyle, the loneliness and on the road.
That is something I had not considered.
Yeah.
But I thought it was amazing that this was only signs we saw going through there. It was advertisements for that, and I kind of like billboards sometimes. It's not too much.
Sure.
You go to Fayetteville, there's too many billboards.
Okay.
Portland has enough. Raleigh, North Carolina, has too little. But they tell you what's going on and where to go and all this stuff. I think they can be very useful. And they're not the prettiest things in the world, but a lack of them is not such a good thing. But I thought, man, this must be one of the poorest places on Earth. At least in America.
Could very well be. And I remember seeing quite a bit of what you're talking about on the way from here to Grants Pass. There's some places like that that are just roadside, and that's what's there.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just when you get in those wide open spaces, and I guess those areas are zoned for commercial, and that's what pops in there.
Yeah.
There's definitely a market for it among those lonely truckers.
Yeah, and other people. I never thought of the trucker thing. That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right, but this Super X is Super G rated. It's okay.
Okay.
So,
yes.
all right, so there's a guy in a white uniform going around doing super feats. So what's going on with that?
Yeah. And the long and the short of it is Superboy, or it's Clark in college, okay? So Superboy, or very young Superman, was visiting the scientist who'd come up with these, like, germs or whatever.
And the size of guppies.
Yeah. Now, being exposed to them, he needed to quarantine himself, but not, but he didn't want to stop doing super feats and saving people. So he and the scientist came up with a suit that would shield him until the germs kind of wore off or whatever, so he could go out and do it. So he's temporarily assumes the identity of Super X. It's a white uniform. It's a containment suit.
Right. And he said, well, what am I going to do with my regular suit? Oh, I'll put it in. Although, wouldn't that be contaminated too? But he hides it in his clothes because he's living in a dorm. And his dorm mate gives his clothes to Lana Lang.
Well, for what purpose?
What is the purpose? I don't know.
Okay,
She's
because
bring
reasons
it back
is the
tonight.
answer.
Yeah, sort of.
So.
Yeah. So she's looking. She brings out the clothes and she sees Superman's outfit and it says, "Oh, look at this!" And all of a sudden, Superboy's outfit. Superboy comes super fast, grabs it, and makes her lose her memory, and which is kind of I remember the story where Jimmy Olsen went back in time by accident to Smallville, and when Superboy sent him back, he gave him some like amnesium or whatever. Oh, amnesia germs, yes.
Yeah.
But I guess Superboy is not susceptible to them.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's the story.
It's just a weird.
Yeah.
Like, why did you bother with this story?
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay, but like, what? What was the point?
Yeah, and we see him. One cool thing, we see him put on his Superboy mask as it looks like Clark Kent, and he puts on flesh-colored gloves.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. But yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Why couldn't he just pretend to be sick? That's probably for 48 hours. Wouldn't that have been simpler?
Yeah, and then we wouldn't have any story. But, I mean, again, this is a story that didn't need to be told,
Right.
So we have a...
Guess not.
So we have a backup, and this is a reprint, a Silver Age reprint, of the Atom. And it's the Atom's Phantom Double from the Atom number 9, which is from October and November of 1963. The story was written by Gardner Fox, penciled by Gil Kane, and inked by Murphy Anderson.
Yeah, this was an odd one.
I liked it.
Yeah, I made a snarky comment in my notes about.
Yes, I noticed that.
That makes it having a Phantom, having two atoms makes it twice as lame. But yeah, it's actually kind of intriguing, actually.
Yeah, and I felt like this was a really neat. I'm sure there's like a science fiction short story or movie where this concept is played with, because it's something.
Oh, it's a story by Gardner Fox, and I think he was. Didn't Gardner Fox actually write science fiction? Or am I...
Well, yes, but he also wrote many comic book stories. I mean, comics are primarily what he's known for. But borrowing from yourself isn't plagiarism. So maybe it was something he wrote in prose and adapted it for superhero comics. But anyway.
Okay. So what kind? So
Ray Palmer, the Atom, he's working in his laboratory.
Yeah. The reactor gauges are going screwy, and it turns on fire. So it makes him a phantom copy of himself.
Yeah.
So this is where it gets weird. This is, well, I want to get back to what so I'll kill the original Phantom.
The Phantom doppelganger.
The real Atom. We'll kill Atom, the original Atom, and then we'll be together. But then the original Atom sees that coming and he gets out of the way.
No. The Phantom version of the Atom wants to take over and have a real life. So he gets the idea that if I kill or immobilize the original Ray Palmer, I can take over.
I should be able to assume his real life existence. Yeah, you're right. So, which is kind of mean.
Yeah.
So,
but there's some Jekyll and Hyde things here, or splitting off an evil self and the other self remaining good.
Yeah. All right. So, the Atom gets up and says, "Oh, I've ordered some materials and they've gotten stolen by these criminals." So he goes out searching for them. I mean, he has some kind of tracker on his materials he's ordered.
Yeah.
And he finds out who's got them, and he, which is really cool. And he stops them, and he turns into the Atom, and the bad guys are looking for him, and they look into the window of the car.
They don't see it. They don't see him because he's shrunk, and so he rolls up the window around this guy's neck.
With electric windows, and that's rare back then, but that was kind of a cool idea.
Yeah.
And the guy gets stuck, and I thought it was pretty awesome. So.
Yeah. I really enjoying Gil Kane's art throughout in this. It's really neat.
Okay, so the original Atom fights like crazy, and then the Phantom Atom is trying to figure out what's going on, because he's glad he didn't kill Ray Palmer. If I had, I'd automatically killed myself.
Right. So, but to take over, he still has to find a way to get Ray Palmer out of the way or immobilize him.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Okay, so now he's got to save Ray Palmer, because if he dies, the Phantom dies too.
Right.
So he comes and he starts fighting. Yet the bad guys, he's trying to shoot at the Atom.
And
I don't know. Well, because they're really small, they have a lot more power. They're kind of like ants, or 12 times their strength.
That's the whole deal that they've, I think, have tried to establish with shrinking heroes, is that they still retain the strength of a full-size man, or that with Ant, I think in the movie coming up with Ant-Man, that the suit, he's actually even stronger than he would have been in normal size. Because whatever.
Yeah.
But maybe it's because your size decreases, but your mass stays the same, maybe.
Yeah.
And so that the muscle density. That's a possibility.
Yeah. Supposedly ants can get to the size of buses. If they did, they'd just crush themselves. Because if they get large, they'll die. I mean, they won't be able to support themselves, because in biggening things like that make
the way that you wouldn't be able to support yourself.
Right. Because about small, they can still be strong in that shape.
Yeah.
And this, I don't understand math. I don't understand that, but that's what I hear.
Okay.
So they fight each other after they beat up the bad guys. And they're both knocked out, and then they both get up, and the Phantom Atom despairs.
Yeah.
So everything's cool, looks like.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a little bit, some more fisticuffs.
Yeah. Because there was those guys trying to steal that lab equipment.
Yeah.
And the Atom beats them up.
Yeah. And he takes. There's two guys together, and they have their heads. So he takes one of their neckties and pulls it and knocks the other guy into bonks heads together, which is one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
I love head bonking. It's just what.
If you've ever accidentally bonked your head against somebody, you know it's like, oh, this isn't effective. This is definitely effective.
Yeah. And then very funny too.
Yeah.
No matter how it hurts.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So it's pretty cool. Not bad.
Yeah.
All right. And
yeah. So next episode we're going to talk about some Marvel comics. We've got 2 issues of Creatures on the Loose and a couple issues of the Defenders to talk about.
Yep. And until then, we'll see you in the funny pages.